Hello everybody, my name is James, hope you're doing well and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about updates from that dramatic sprint race in Austin. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more Formula 1 content. Also make sure to follow me on X at James's Pit Lane, I'll leave a link in the description, but let's jump straight into the video. So that was a dramatic sprint race, wasn't it? And a lot of the drama came right at the start when both McLaren drivers ended up being out of the race at turn 1. I mean, what a start that was. I'll go into detail on it very soon, but essentially the two McLaren drivers hit each other at turn 1. They both had severe suspension damage and they both could not continue, so they were both out of the race. And it was Max Verstappen who went on to win the sprint race. He did a very good job. He did come under a bit of pressure from George Russell, following all the chaos happening in front of him. Russell moved up into P2 and Russell did have a go on Verstappen. He went for a lunge down the inside, but Russell couldn't quite make it stick. It was a good effort, but he went off the track and took Verstappen off with him, so obviously Verstappen is entitled to keep the place. Russell had to slot in behind, and following that, Russell couldn't really pressurise Verstappen anymore. Verstappen was able to pull away, so yeah, Verstappen wins the sprint. And that makes the championship very exciting, doesn't it? I mean, we've seen the past few rounds Verstappen beating the McLarens and just slowly gaining points on them. But here in the sprint race in Austin, Verstappen wins. Both McLaren drivers have not finished the race, so Verstappen has gained 8 points in this race and has closed his championship deficit to Oscar Piastri to 55 points. So I do think Verstappen is very much in this championship. Of course, there is work to do for Red Bull this weekend. Verstappen didn't seem too happy with the rear end of his car, but yeah, he did a very good job in the sprint, and it'll be interesting to see if he can do the same again in the main part of the United States Grand Prix weekend. And speaking about taking the win, Verstappen said the start was good. Then, of course, there was a safety car after the turn 1 incident. I took a few laps after the SC to have decent pace, so we need to figure out what was going on there, but nevertheless we won the sprint, which is of course the most important. But already looking ahead for tomorrow, I do think we need to be a bit better in race trim to be able to fight the McLarens, because we haven't seen anything of them. We'll have a look. Of course we have some ideas of what we can do, and then hopefully it will just stick a bit better tomorrow. But let's move on to the McLarens and what happened there between Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. Well, Lando Norris was in P2 and he did not have the best start. Piastri was in P3, he did have a good start and pulled alongside his teammate going into turn 1, but Norris went deep into the corner. He wasn't going to allow Piastri to go around the outside of him, so Piastri decided to do the switchback on Norris. But as Piastri was trying to do that, he was tagged by the Sauber of Nico Hülkenberg, and that flung Piastri up into the air and into Norris, and it took both McLaren drivers out of the sprint race. Now, the stewards have looked at this incident and decided there should be no further investigation, and I agree. I think it was just one of those incidents where everyone was just close together and it was just an unfortunate incident right at the start. I mean, you could argue that Piastri's cutback caused this whole thing, but I think at the same time he was entitled to give it a go. But McLaren Racing Chief Executive Zak Brown wasn't too happy with him, saying to Sky Sports F1, "That was terrible, neither of our drivers to blame there. That's some amateur hour driving by some drivers up there at the front. They whacked our two guys. I want to see the replay again, but clearly Nico Hülkenberg drove into Oscar and he had no business being where he was. He went into his left rear tyre. It looks like it was just limited to suspension damage, so hopefully it's relatively easy to fix." And the McLaren drivers also gave their take, with Norris saying, "I got hit, what else was I meant to do? I need to look at it a bit more. I just got hit, I got taken out, so not a lot I could have done." And Piastri added, from his point of view, "I've not seen the incident from the TV cameras, but obviously I had a pretty good start. We both went pretty deep into turn 1 and I tried to cut back and got hit, so obviously not a great way to start the day. I need to have another look." So yes, some very dramatic stuff, and one thing to highlight as well, obviously, McLaren have got to fix both those cars in time for qualifying, which is going to happen in a few hours. I reckon they will be able to. It looked like it was just suspension damage, and I think that should be fixable for qualifying. but we'll see what happens. Now, also just to highlight, there was a big penalty issued during the sprint race. Basically, Oliver Bearman and Kimi Antonelli were fighting over 8th place. But the stewards stated that they were looking at Bearman for allegedly leaving the track and gaining an advantage as he fended off Antonelli while fighting for the position, and that is the final points-paying position in a sprint race. Now, there was a crash between Esteban Ocon and Lance Stroll towards the end of the race, and that brought out the safety car, and as a result, because there were so little laps left and there was a lot to clear up, the race finished behind the safety car, and Bearman was given a 10-second time penalty during that safety car period. And because the race ended under the safety car, Bearman dropped right to the back of the grid. And as a result of that incident, Kimi Antonelli gets the final point. But that's going to be the video from me today. Thank you ever so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos. And until the next one, take care. Bye.